Welcome to Follow Focus, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Cameron. This is Brian. Brian has made the cardinal sin of putting a hard candy in his mouth literally 10 seconds before we started recording. So you know he's a true professional. Is that green?
Oh, dude, I was about to test the people listening.
Well, you were just outright showing me.
Well,
I'm
the
sorry.
people listening can't see it, so we'll try it later. We'll play the game later. It's fine.
You'll be on Jolly Rancher number 2 before this is over, I'm sure.
Yeah, I've got 3 of them right here lined up. So
there you go. Now, I gotta ask, did those come from somewhere? Like, because I know, is it Sweetwater? Does Sweetwater still do a thing where they, like, throw candies in your box?
Didn't know that was a thing. I'm gonna order more from Sweetwater.
Yeah, I think they used to. I don't know if they do now, because I ordered a mic from them.
Is that legal?
To just send candy through the mail when
Yeah,
you didn't ask for it?
I feel like
know.
there's like a FDA kind of thing that they have to go through.
Maybe. That used to be a big thing. There were a lot of places that sent candy, like, with your orders as, like, thank yous. But now Sweetwater just does the thing where they just call you randomly to, like, check how you're doing and, like, see. Have you experienced this?
I legitimately don't think I've ever bought anything from Sweetwater.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So when you eventually do, here's what's going to happen.
Okay.
You're going to place your order, and then a couple days later, maybe like the next day, and by my experience, this is going to be at around like 7 p.m., you're going to get a call from Sweetwater, and it's going to be some guy probably named like Dylan or Braden or some kind of like bro-ish name who's going to be like, hey, and he's going to sound like really kind of sultry when he's talking to you. And he's going to be like, hey, this is Dylan from Sweetwater. Saw you ordered that Samson C02 microphone. Just wanted to see what you plan on using that for. What kind of projects you working on? And is going to like ask you like all these questions like you're on a first date or something. And then
That's
be
cute.
like, yeah, and then be like, all right, well, anything comes up, you just let me know. It's Dylan from Sweetwater. And then after you get it, they're going to call you again. And then ask you how it's working for you. What'd you use it on? Anything you'd like to change? You want to exchange it for something better? All this stuff. I thought that this was
good customer service.
It's great customer service. It's borderline creepy.
Yeah, it's right there. Yeah.
And I thought that this was just a me thing, or like just a one-off, maybe because it was the first time I'd ordered. I don't know. And then I saw someone on TikTok who was literally making TikTok sketches as the rep from Sweetwater calling people.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, no, this is a thing. So that's the new candy in the box, I guess.
Well, yeah, I order most of my things from B&H.
Same, but there was one time where I needed a particular microphone. I'd done all my research and I was like, okay, this is what I need for this shoot. It's the microphone I'm using right now, actually, but I was using it because I needed something that was like a shotgun but could get over a wider area because I had multiple people on screen. They didn't want to use lavs, and I didn't want to like have a shotgun for each person. So I was like, okay, go for a super cardioid. That seems like it's going to be the best bet. And B&H was out of stock of these. And so was like everywhere else. The only place that had them in stock that I could get them in time for the shoot was Sweetwater. So, and my dad's in the musical background, so we got Sweetwater packages to the house every other day when I was
all the time. So you've lived with it.
Oh yeah, I knew who Sweetwater was. Speaking of packages, you have a very enticing package in front of you right now that was holding up the it was holding up the Jolly Ranchers.
You should know what this is.
Well, I'm trying to think. You got your new lens. We were talking about that last week.
That's right there.
That's the lens. That's the lens you're looking at right now. If you're looking at the video of this, we've used it. It's lovely.
It's incredible. It's so great, and it's like 10 years old. It's fine.
Yeah, it's got brown highlights on it. But it's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
It looks old school. Is this your new hard drive? Your 2 terabyte?
Yes, sir.
There we go.
Okay. Tell me what your expectations for packaging are for a hard drive.
Is this because you're holding something that is like I have on my shelves behind me. I don't know if people can see this because of the lovely bokeh. I have a full complete works of Sherlock Holmes novel that is leather bound and giant. And this thing is the size of this box you're holding is the size of like 2 of those.
It is large.
It is very large.
And there's a T7 2TB SSD in here,
which is the size of like
smaller than your wallet.
Yeah, it's the size of, it's like about the footprint of a credit card, and it's like maybe
like 5 credit cards stacked on top of each other.
Yeah, like 1/3 of an inch thick or something like that. Now, when I send hard drives, I send them in a bubble mailer. And I've never had any troubles. Sometimes they're still in their box, but most of the time I'm just sending them in their bubble mailer with like a little extra packaging. That's it. So I'm put it this way, what I'm expecting and what I would consider appropriate are 2 different things, because I have gotten like memory cards, like SD cards from Amazon that have been in boxes about that size, and they're the size of like, a Cheez-It, even with their box. So
what are your expectations with this package right now?
I feel like you're leading me somewhere and I don't know where. I would expect like
it to be packed super well.
I would expect a couple for a box, since there's so much empty space in that box. I would assume like some of those like little plastic bags of air or some like brown paper to fill the void. Is that not the case?
It does not feel like there is anything protecting this thing.
Yeah, okay, point taken.
I took a video of this on my front porch just in case it's broken. Okay.
I mean the good news is
an SSD.
It's an SSD. They're
so
meant to
shouldn't be broken.
It shouldn't be broken. That is kind of hilarious though.
Let's see the I could feel the lack of packaging, but we'll oh wow. There's a whole peel tab, and the peel tab doesn't work.
I hate the peel tab boxes, honestly. Mostly because they never work for me.
All right.
What do we got? Live unboxing.
Let me pull out all the packaging here. All right.
For those at home, Brian did a visual gag where he held nothing in his hand when he pulled it out. It is literally just floating around in there.
Just floating around in there.
It is just the hard drive box inside of a larger box, like 4 times its size.
Granted, there is a box. Yeah, right. So this probably is quarter, maybe a 1/6 of the size of the box. Right?
Yeah.
So,
it's rattling around. How is it rattling around in there? Those things usually are in like little like clamshell case things.
Oh
what?
Boy!
Hold on. Where did you order this from?
Best Buy. Best Buy's thing. Remember?
Oh, that's right. It was a Best Buy.
Best Buy's Refurbished. Okay, I was okay with buying Refurbished.
Okay.
So it's totally fine because it was almost $100 for a 2 terabyte.
Hey,
drive.
That's great. That is awesome.
But this is good. This is really good too.
Okay, right? So what is missing inside of that box?
The drive is there.
There's
a little slot for it to sit in. Okay, so.
But there's clearly supposed to be like a plastic piece over that.
Something. Even like with the drive in the little thing, it's
still rattling around. Oh gosh.
Okay, well, I pushed it in there and it came right out. Never mind.
Yeah. And I'm sure that the lovely folks at UPS were very ginger with it.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you will have to plug that in and let us know if it still works. I mean, I feel like it should be fine.
Let's see what else is in here.
Do you still get the... Did you get the cables?
I got cables.
There you go. Okay, so...
Cables with the cable things on them.
Okay, so those haven't been used. Yeah, they still got the little cardboard, like,
unless they just had extra ones. All right, that's cool.
Cool. I mean, for the price, you can't really complain.
Add it to the collection. Yeah, the only thing I can complain about is if it doesn't work. So,
right. I mean, honestly, refurbished stuff is I'm a big fan. Like I've done a lot of the like Amazon warehouse things, not just for video stuff. There are certain things that I won't do that kind of refurbished thing for. Things that I'm like, okay, I do not trust that
what about
this will
refurbished like toilet paper.
That is a disturbing idea. That is a very disturbing idea. No, absolutely not.
I haven't seen it, so if you want to start your own business.
I think there's a reason you haven't seen it, Brian. I'm going to be real.
Well, I'm just to the viewers and listeners, like if they want to start a business, we just gave them a business idea.
It would be very green.
Well, we'll see if this works.
Yeah. Did you just throw it? I mean,
Yeah,
hey, if it survived this long, it can survive a little toss. The great thing about SSDs, though, I will say I did get some refurbished on eBay. I got refurbished hard drives, like spinning server grade or NAS grade drives. Yeah, which normally spinning hard drives are things that I wouldn't mess with as far as getting them like used or refurbished, because it's like their lifetime can like really diminish if they haven't been taken care of. But in this case, it was through eBay, but it was on like Seagate's official like refurbished page, which I find it so funny that like manufacturers have that and they just go through eBay. Like, I don't know, but I mean, I wonder
how that works.
I don't know. It's like they just decide, we're just gonna sell them ourselves.
Do they buy them back?
But I don't know.
What if there's a buyback program? Like maybe like, because I know Apple has the buyback thing, but they use theirs for their chips and stuff.
Yeah. Maybe it's like stuff that people send in to like they RMA them, and Seagate like figures out like, okay, we're just gonna send these guys a new drive, but it turns out it was just like this capacitor on this thing or whatever. They replace it and then sell them as refurbished. I don't know.
Yeah, that's above us. So
it's above us.
I'm over it.
I honestly think that like refurbished lenses are like the only way to go. The idea of buying a lens brand new is like insane to me. I have gotten lenses brand new, like my 50mm that I'm shooting this on right now. I bought that new, but that's because the Canon 50mm prime is like $120.
I have an example.
Yes. Oh, he's getting out of his chair. He's going into the out of focus zone behind him. Oh, yes.
There's your example for buying something not refurbished but used from eBay, and it's like one of my favorite lenses.
Yeah, the 70-200. Yeah, that thing is incredible. I got it for, I think it was around $700, which street price is like $1,500. So it's an insane deal.
And the RF ones are significantly more than that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
RF glass is so expensive.
It really is. It really is. And I don't really fully understand why. I'm sure there's some kind of technical or manufacturing reason, but
full frame glass versus.
I guess so.
I don't know.
Yeah, but like it's weird how a lot of the lenses that you find on eBay, there's the ones that are like people are selling, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the ones that are being sold by random reputable, like they have a good reputation on eBay, but it's not like an individual. And they're all like shipping from Japan.
I was just about to say my favorite eBay listings are the ones that just say like from Japan.
Yeah. Which that 70-200 was one of the ones that was just like, this is from Japan. This has like basically, they say, never been used. But it's like, so I don't know if I know there are some places where like they will take like manufacturers like rejects of like this didn't hold up. Like I know that there's like you can do it with like CPUs, like Intel chips and stuff.
Yeah.
Where you can get like ones that didn't like pass their quality checks, and as such they can't like overclock as high, or they run at a slightly reduced clock speed, but other than that they're fine. So I don't know if this is like that. The fact that they all come from Japan, and I assume Japan is where a lot of this glass is made.
It does say made in Japan on it. Yeah.
So at least on the Canon side, I think a lot of their lenses come from Japan. And the fact that all of these, like, it's like new, it's never been used, but we're selling it for half off. I think it's like, it fell off the back of a truck and now we're selling it. I don't know.
You're like, okay, sure.
But like, it came with all of its, like, it came with all the paperwork, the manuals and stuff. Like, I don't think it has a warranty on it, but I mean, for half the price of
I wouldn't expect a warranty.
Yeah. And it's a workhorse.
I feel like I've used it more than you.
I think you probably have at this point. You probably have. But like I used it quite a bit when I shot that bat mitzvah the other week.
Okay.
It's great for it is. I knew that it would not be like a daily driver lens for me.
Yeah, way too long of a focal length.
Oh yeah, but it lets you get shots you can't otherwise.
Yeah.
And especially for event shoots or anything where you're gonna be at a distance. There's no other like way to get the shots you need.
Yeah.
Basically.
I mean, the only and we've talked about this lens multiple times. Not the 170-200, but the only other lens that I think would be like comparably good for event coverage is like a 24-105. You know, like something that gets wide enough to be wide and tight enough to be tight, but not tight enough to be far away. You know, but.
I mean, like, so, like, for the bat mitzvah, there's the only time I used the 200 full focal length, was I was using it for the speeches. So I was like all the way back. I was at probably like 100 maybe, for most of the speeches, getting kind of like a nice, wide-ish medium shot.
Yeah.
And then there's a part of the ceremony where they cut into the loaf of challah bread, and from all the way in the back of the room, I was able to get a close-up of that loaf as they were cutting it. So
That's
it's
pretty
like,
cool.
It was great. And like, that is a shot that like, you would think, you look at it, you'd think I was up on the stage with them, but I couldn't be. So, it's like there's no other way to get that shot. And then
that's awesome.
And then there's stuff where like, if you're doing some kind of like auditorium, like lecture or speech type thing, you just need to have that length.
Yeah.
But you've used it to you've used it to great effect. You were shooting some stuff at a baseball match, and you were getting incredible stuff.
Please don't get roasted by saying baseball match.
It was baseball game. Is that
majority of things are called a game.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. Matches like tennis, golf.
Yeah, that's like soccer match.
Wrestling. No, soccer game.
I feel like the Europeans call it like a soccer match. They like to use the term match a lot more, I feel.
Well, you're not European, are you?
Sometimes. Sometimes okay. I feel very European.
I'm a peeing every day, so.
Good man. Set you up and you knocked it out of the park. I appreciate that.
That's what I'm here for. Anyways, so yeah, on the fun lens buying side of things, I just bought a lens. A $300 Canon EFS 17-55 2.8.
Mm-hmm.
So much lighter than my Rokinon 16. So much more versatile. F2.8's nice. If it could go a little wider, it would be cool. But without having NDs and all the crazy filters, 2.8's a pretty nice spot for what I could use it for. And I was running it on a gimbal with no problem. The balancing and everything with the 6K and a lens and all that was great.
It's a pretty tight little package.
Yeah.
And is it internal zoom?
Yep. I didn't think it was. I really, for the price, I was like, there's no way this is internal zoom and all that kind of good stuff. And it is.
I mean, it's smaller. I think it's smaller than my Sigma 18-35.
It might be. We'll have to, not a measuring contest, but we'll compare the two.
Yeah. But it is sweet. And like you were saying, it's older.
Yeah, it's an older lens. I'll pull up the statistics. We'll do a stat pull up here because we were doing that in the last podcast where we were pulling things up pretty consistently.
And this was something I think I might have asked you about this. This was either live on the show last week or it was right after the fact when we were talking about the lens more. Because I was Googling it to try and find it, and I was like, oh, it's an EFS mount. Is that going to work with our EF mount cameras? And sure enough, it totally does.
Yep.
I was confusing it with, and I really hate that they have this many like variations of EF that are just there's one letter and that's it.
Literally.
So there's EF, there's regular EF, then there's EFM, which I assume is like EF mini or micro or something. And that is physically a different mount. And I know this because I did accidentally buy early on in my Blackmagic foray I got a lens that was EFM and did not realize. I didn't notice the extra letter. So I got it, tried to attach it, was like, this is a completely different mount. Realized it, returned it to B&H. They were very nice about it. So when I saw the EFS, I was like, oh, it's got the extra letter. I think that's the same one I got that did not work. But no, EFS basically just means it doesn't work on a full frame camera, or doesn't work as well on a full frame camera.
Right. You literally see a circle within your image. So you have to do a sensor crop, like,
right.
Which a lot of full frame cameras, like the Lumix S5, I don't remember which lens it was. It's one of the lenses I have. Might have been my 30 to 300 or 70 to 300, whatever it is.
Oh, the really long one.
Yeah.
The really cheap, bad telephone.
The bad one, yeah. The like f5 to 5.8, like, yeah. I put that lens on the Lumix with an adapter, and I had to crop the video, upscale the video to 4K to do a sensor crop, and it looked fine. But then you add, like, is it 30 millimeters, 20 millimeters to the focal length? Like, it,
right,
quote unquote, adds 20 millimeters, whatever. After I figured out it was EFS, I was like, hopefully it works.
Yeah.
But yeah, it totally does. And it's awesome. If you could guess when this lens launched, what would your guess be?
Okay, so I have one benefit, which is that I have physically seen the lens, and I mentioned before it has like
the gold, brown, yeah.
It's like gold and brown. I didn't actually notice the gold. I noticed the brown.
Oh, gold and brown, same thing.
Got it. So
real gold is like brownish. So
that's true. So I know that makes me think that it's pretty darn old. I'm trying to think when Canon was regularly making lenses that looked like that. That makes me think it's like early 2000s, like 2005, 2010. I'm going to say 2005. I'm going to hedge low.
2006.
Oh, okay.
Do you know the MSRP?
MSRP? Well, like MSRP today or MSRP back then?
The like launch MSRP.
The launch price? Okay, for that, I'm going to say it was probably around like $800.
$1,200.
Jeez.
And when do you think it was discontinued from manufacturing?
For that, I'm going to say 2012.
2021.
They still made it up until like 3 years ago?
Says right here, discontinuation 2021.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. I mean, sure. It's a great focal length.
That's around the time that they started going RF. I'm pretty sure, like all the RF and all that stuff.
But like,
yeah, it had to have been like 2021.
I'm trying to think.
So they probably stopped going everything EF and went the RF route because they dropped. They didn't drop a lot of glass when they dropped the RF stuff, but they slowly are getting there.
Yeah,
because I think when Sony dropped the FX series of things, they dropped like 15 or 20 different lenses with the FX cameras.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Canon dropped all the R stuff, it came with like 3 lenses. There was like a 24 to 105, a 50, and I don't even know what the other one would have been. Now that I'm trying to, maybe an 85. I think it might have been 85.
Maybe.
But
there's still so many EF cameras though. Like new cameras coming out that have EF mounts. Not necessarily Canon cameras. I don't know what kind of mount they're using.
Yeah.
But
RF. They're RF.
Yeah, they're all RF. And I guess like at some point I could see at some point us, well, I don't know. I feel like we would probably go more to like a PL or an L mount before we would jump into RF.
Yeah.
Like if I were to be in a position where it's like, okay, I have to repurchase all of my glass to get to a different mount system, I wouldn't do the jump from EF to RF.
RF,
like,
yeah.
If I'm going to do that PL. Much of a thing, I want it to be like a big jump. Not just, okay, this is the newer kid on the block from Canon.
Everything PL is pretty crazy. It's pretty nice. So a lot of all the PL stuff's really, really nice glass.
Oh yeah, and expensive, but then so is RF.
Because it's all like cine glass, essentially. Like like that's what PL is driven towards, from my knowledge.
Yeah, I think it's because there aren't like still cameras that use PL. or anything like that.
Might be wrong, but still.
I'm sure we are wrong, but for the most part, I think it's considered that.
Yeah. But yeah, I think you're right. We'd probably go PL versus going RF because, I mean, there's adapters for everything, so we probably always use our lenses if we really wanted to. And
sure, there's adapters, but so many of them, like you were saying, they involve like you either lose some speed or you lose or gain some focal length or something. They end up cropping a little bit. So I don't know. Adapters have always kind of not scared me, but I've always been hesitant.
You get scared about a lot of things. We know.
I do. I'm a very timid person.
I've seen you drive. It's fine. Oh, sorry. I've seen your Tesla drive itself.
Yeah. The Tesla's scared. We talked about how the Tesla is like terrified of traffic cones. It will merge out of lanes just to be further away from traffic cones.
That's wild. That's like an elephant in a mouse.
It really is. It really is.
Like, what's this orange thing? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Speaking of which, we are working on a new video that we shot, just like for fun, that involves the Tesla as a sort of character.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was
cool. A fun, thought of it within an hour, and we went and started shooting it.
Yeah. I mean,
one of those deals.
Yeah, which you have those deals a lot. You oftentimes will like text me and be like, "Hey, what are you doing this afternoon? You want to shoot something?" That has happened more than once.
I'm a shooter, man. I got to get out and do stuff.
Yeah.
Now that I'm in it so deep, I'm like, well, I'm not doing anything right now, so let's go.
I mean, that's a good way. That's the only way to like keep your skills sharp. And it was, excuse me, it was a very fun exercise. Like kind of like that. We've talked about doing one of those like 48-hour film festival things at some point. Yep. And this was a sort of like 4-hour film festival. Yeah. I mean, we just shot it in 4 hours. We didn't like finish it.
Yeah, we have a lot of other things going on at the same time. So post has been on pause, but it was a pretty fun little thing. And that's the type of stuff that I like. Like that's the type of stuff that my brain likes to do is like, all right, like let's do something super spontaneous and sporadic and creative. So
one of the things that we were laughing about quite a bit was the fact that almost the whole thing, the whole thing except for a couple of drone shots was shot on your gimbal.
Yep.
And so a lot of it, because it's like car stuff, some of it was in the car and it was, tight fit with the gimbal and with you in the passenger seat, but like we got it working. The big thing that we ran into was we were using a shotgun mic for the audio. And your gimbal has a shoe mount on top of it.
Does.
So like in theory, well, that was our initial idea was, okay, we just mount the shotgun to
where
the
it's
top
supposed
of
to
that.
go.
Where it's supposed to go on the top of the thing. We had 2 issues with that. One of which was the length of the cable, because on the Blackmagics, you have to go from mini XLR to regular XLR. So usually for a shotgun mic, we've got like, what are they, like foot-long cables, maybe?
Yeah.
And that's usually fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's usually the perfect length to go from, bolted onto the cage to plug into the camera. Nice and tidy. This was like just too much distance.
Yeah.
We needed like an extra 6 inches.
It would have pulled on the gimbal and made it go all out of whack. So it's like we had to figure out a solution that would be less tension and less pain to the whole setup.
Yeah. Well, and then plus with it mounted to the top of the gimbal, when you were in the car holding it, that extra height was hitting the roof of the car. Do they make brackets and adapters that allow you to like mount things to the gimbal? Absolutely, they do. Did we have any of those? No, we did not.
And do they cost a lot of money? Yes, they do.
Oh, of course they do. I mean, I'm sure we could get like the cheap route. We could get like some little small rig, like pipe clamp things. Like, that would probably be fine. But you know what's even cheaper than a pipe clamp? Gaff tape.
Gaff tape. Well, sometimes it's cheaper.
For a
you get real gaff. You get real gaff tape. It's not cheaper.
Yeah, and admittedly, it is real gaff tape. But as a one-off, that was probably like 25 cents worth of gaff tape.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And it made it so we could do the shoot.
Did I have my monitor? Did I have my monitor taped that day? Where was my monitor?
No.
Oh, we didn't have a monitor.
We never used the monitor.
So, what I did for the real estate shoot.
The real estate
we did a real estate shoot just recently.
And you had your monitor for that.
I had my monitor. Did you see how my monitor was on the gimbal?
I didn't look too closely. It seemed like it was affixed normally.
Oh, it was affixed, all right.
Oh, gosh.
So, the shoe screw, the little square with the screw that screws into the bottom thing so you can put it on a shoe.
Yep.
I don't know where it went. Like, I haven't had it for a long time because when I built this shoulder rig, I got the 15 millimeter clamp thing that slides out and I can screw it in and whatever. So I took it off. So I don't know where that is. All right.
Okay.
So I was rigging up for the shoot and I was like, oh yeah, I'll just put my monitor and slide it on top of into the shoe and blah, blah, blah. And I started to like unscrew it from my system and look for this thing. I was like, oh, it's gone. I have no idea where this little screw thing is.
Yeah.
So I used like three normal size, maybe like 6-inch gaff rips, right? 3 of those. And then I ripped those in half, long ways. So I had 6. Oh, I just gave a thumbs up somehow. I had 6 strips of gaff tape. And I did like a spiral wrap of the little post onto the tilter ring. So I like wrapped it up here and then spiraled and did the other direction, then did the other side, then did the other side, and then went over again. It's like you're setting a
sprain.
Yeah, exactly. So it was heavily gaff taped on there. I can't believe you didn't notice.
This is, I think, why gaff tape is better than like regular duct tape for a wide variety of reasons. But one of the
no
big
residue.
Ones,
that's number one.
No residue. It's actually strong.
Yeah, it's strong, but like comes off easy at the same time. Like duct tape is like kind of strong, like not at the same level as gaff tape.
Yeah.
But then it leaves the stick. It just literally leaves the stickiness on the ground, and you can't rip it up off the floor. But it also doesn't stick great at the same time. It's like, where are we?
It like starts to peel off almost immediately.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, you add any heat, yeah, you just that thing is toast. That thing's staying on the ground or whatever it's hooked to.
Yeah. But also aesthetically, gaff tape being matte black.
Oh yeah.
You can like this is the thing, like if anyone who is not in the industry who like doesn't know how gaff tape is just better duct tape and it's matte black. And it costs like $30 a roll. It's great.
Love it.
But it's worth it. You get your money's worth. It is I would say $25 better than a roll of duct tape.
I've been using my own personal gaff tape for like 3 years now. And I literally just bought my second 4-pack of gaff tape like a week ago. A week ago.
Yeah.
But it's so good. That's the whole thing is like I could tape down 3 cables 100 feet and use 1 strip of that gaff tape all the way down, and it's totally like it's perfect. Like
it's wonderful. Next time you see like any kind of video or film professional doing anything, take a good hard look at the rig that they're using, at the cabling that they're using, whatever, and you will find gaff tape on there somewhere.
Have to.
But the cool thing is it's matte black. It looks so it's not like you show up with something gaff taped to the side of a gimbal thing, you are not going to raise any eyebrows because to the untrained eye or even the trained eye in my case, it just looks like it belongs there. It's just part. It's just that's just how it works. Like it's wonderful.
Gaff tape just belongs.
Gaff tape belongs in all of our lives, in all of our hearts.
So if you don't have any gaff tape, I would buy some.
Truly, yes. Like
just put it on a shelf, even if you don't ever use it.
Yeah, it is so much better than duct tape.
It needs a home.
I would have loved. I was a big MythBusters kid, when they were on
Mythbusters
the
is
air.
great. Yeah.
But I remember they did a couple of duct tape specials where it was like all the myths were just duct tape, and it was like, can you like lift a car with duct tape? Can you like tape a guy to a ceiling with duct tape and it'll hold and all this stuff?
Show.
It was such a great show. They made like boats out of duct tape. I think they did like
a
desert.
Yeah, they did. I remember that one now.
They like stranded Jamie and Adam on a desert island with just like a bunch of rolls of duct tape, and they're like, okay, escape the island or survive the island or whatever. I would have loved,
show.
So iconic. I would have loved for them to do another special like that, but with gaff tape, because it would have outperformed duct tape in every single measure. I mean, I think duct tape passed. Like, you could lift a car with duct tape. I think they found. Well, it was using like 80 rolls or something like that.
So the great thing about gaff tape too is you can rip it short ways, like nothing, like butter, like it just rips right off, right? If you try to pull the gaff tape like long ways, it won't rip like under any strength or any power or anything like that. You could pull that thing apart as hard as you want. If it gets stuck to itself, it is impossible to get off of anything.
Yep.
Right? That's the really cool thing about it. Like, I could see it probably using half of what the duct tape did to pick up a car.
Easily.
Like, I could totally see it doing that.
What's the weirdest or what's the jankiest thing that you have ever seen gaff tape used for? And this could be someone else using it, or this could be you using it.
Wow, that's a great question. As us creatives and filmmakers and people that have done anything with a light and a light stand, there's a little metal bit at the top, right? That you can like screw your thing in, screw the light on, blah, blah, blah. Or if it's threaded, you screw that on. Well, I left the mount part that threaded onto that thread, like at home or where, I don't even remember where it was, to my light. So my light could move and do all that. Well, that piece that screwed into the light, that screwed onto the mount, that made them made the two one, was just gone. So I gaff taped the light to the light stand, like completely Spider-Man looking. Like, I probably used 60 feet of gaff tape to hold this light up on a light stand.
But
that was my worst one. It worked. It definitely did. It stayed there.
That's pretty good. I mean, as far as like the weight and like the fact that, I mean, all of that had to balance and be connected to something that is like the size of like your thumb.
Yeah,
like, that does not give you a lot of surface area to like mate those things to.
Not much at all.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. The weirdest that I have seen, but also like the cleverest, I would potentially say. This was, I was doing a shoot with someone. This was not my own gear. This was someone else's gear, and they had a C300. And the C300 was running off of the regular Canon batteries. So those are the ones that like, they slot in and there's like the open thing in the back, and they slot in and they click down.
Yep.
That's what locks it in, right? So something about this C300's mechanism for that had broken at some point. So basically, it was missing some part on the inside that was like when you pushed it in and then pushed it down, it made the connections to power the camera, but there was some little piece that was supposed to then like click out and lock the battery in place.
Yeah.
That was just gone. Like, it was broken, it was missing, something. That. So it meant that like, yes, it worked, but literally if you like bumped the battery, it would just pop off of its little pins and like and the camera was dead, right? Immediately.
You have no power.
No power. So what they had done was they used what they called the football. And it was, they took a length of gaff tape and they folded it over. They folded like one corner over to make like a triangle.
Oh boy.
And then they just kept folding it over, triangle, triangle, triangle. Kind of like when you make like a little paper
football.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you ended up with this gaff tape thing that was like 8 layers of gaff tape thick or something like that. That was just this triangle. God. And what they would do is they would put the battery into the C300 thing, push it down so it made contact, and then there's like a little gap between the battery and the side of like the battery well.
Oh my gosh.
And they would shove the football in there. And then that would just, by sheer friction, because gaff tape is also kind of like a rough, not quite rubberized, but like it's got a kind of grippy texture on the outside.
Yeah, yep.
So that in there would just immobilize the battery for the shoot. And then whenever you were done, there was the little like triangle of gaff tape sticking out the back. So you just pull that out and then the battery would fall out on its own, basically.
That is pretty janky for your main rig and your main setup to have a battery like that.
Pretty janky, but I'll tell you, it worked. And it was also, to their credit, it was a gaff tape contraction that was totally reusable. Because it was only stuck to
That's
itself.
Impressive.
They weren't like taping it. They weren't making a fresh one every time. So like you compare that to how much it probably would cost to send in the C300 to get it fixed by Canon.
To get that little clip piece.
Yeah. Like I could only be impressed, honestly.
Were you worried at all?
I was terrified because I operated that camera like a couple times, and I was so nervous because it was the fact that like if it didn't work, if it bumped at all, there was no AC backup, there was no other battery backup, so it was just like nope, gone. And like you do that in the middle of a long running clip, it was like maybe your clip is saved, maybe it's not.
Wow.
Just roll the dice. So yeah, fortunately it was like a static shoot, so I basically was like I set it up, I got it rolling, and then I was just like, okay, I'm just not going to touch you until this is over.
Go near this thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
But again, gaff tape saved the day.
I think my my 50D body at the battery door doesn't close all the way, so the connection for the battery like doesn't. I guess the circuit doesn't close. Like literally the battery door has to be closed for it to turn on, like work at all.
Interesting.
Which it's what I thought too. I was like, okay, sure, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I do remember I taped it, and it was just a piece of I guess it was gaff tape. Now that I'm thinking about it, because that's the only tape that I would have had doing anything photo or whatever. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think I was shooting like high school like graduation portraits or something.
Okay.
And there was another photographer I was coming to second shoot it, and they had tape, and that's what I'd used because I actually was just holding the door with my right pinky, holding it up
to
close the circuit while the battery was in there. So he gave me a piece of tape, and I taped it on there. And the piece of tape might actually still be on the body. I'll check that after. It actually might still be there. Yeah, that's just insane to think about. Actually, like, yeah, gaff tape is literally a lifesaver.
It is a magical material.
Yeah,
and it's worth getting the proper stuff. Like, I think is it Roscoe? Is that the brand that's like the brand?
Yeah, it doesn't strike me right away, so I'm not sure.
Let me look it up because I have
look it up. Do it.
I have gotten off-brand gaff tape at one point when I was like in college. I did get like a pack of off-brand gaff tape from Amazon, and it was very noticeable how different it was.
Yeah.
Like the surface of it was like all shiny.
So the gaff tape that I just ran out of was the gaff tape that I bought from Amazon. It was like 4 rolls for like maybe $25, maybe $30. Like nothing extreme. It worked well. It worked well, but yeah, you're exactly 100% right. Like for the DJ business and the stuff that we do, we use the real stuff. Like we use the $30 a roll stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so
and it's a big difference.
Yeah, I think so I know that I have seen or used Roscoe gaff tape. I want to see if maybe they were the weird.
Was that the weird brand? Maybe.
I mean, Roscoe's a legit thing. Okay, no, Roscoe's. Well, put it this way: you search for Roscoe gaff tape on B&H, they have a roll of chroma key fabric tape, but they also don't call it. Yeah, it's like green, which is great for like patching up green screens and stuff. and I think it's legit stuff, but they don't call it. They call it fabric tape, not gaff tape. So I think the only like original one appears to be from a company called Pro Tapes.
Okay.
And that is Pro Tapes Pro Gaffer Tape. They have it in a bunch of different colors, including black, blue, burgundy, a bunch of fluorescents, red, green, gray, white. And you can get it in a bunch of different thicknesses. So this roll is 2 inches thick by 55 yards. So that's a good amount of tape.
Yeah, that's a lot of tape. Yeah.
And it's $20.
Okay.
It's not that bad. You can get a 3-inch thick roll for $40, but that's it looks like Pro Tapes is the legit one. It has so it's a 5-star product on B&H, and it has, how many reviews do you think it has?
Oh boy, do I get a hint? Like, is it like ridiculous number?
I mean, for a B&H, because B&H is more like specialty. For B&H, I would consider it's a pretty high number. I wouldn't say it's ridiculous.
Okay, so I say 450.
450 reviews?
Yeah.
Higher than that. Way higher than that.
2,000?
It has 1,924 reviews.
Which is a lot. Like, that's a lot of people reviewing something.
And of those, over 1,600 of those reviews are 5 stars.
Wow. So they're doing something right. Like, very right.
Yeah. I'm disappointed that there aren't more joke reviews talking about how they used it to like repair their marriage or something. Because
put it on there.
They really need to have that. There's a lot of questions about like, does it stick on this? Does it stick on that? And the answer is always yes. It will stick on anything.
Of course it does.
You can write on it. Like that's the other thing. You can write on it. You can make labels out of it. I mean, it's a miracle material.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that was a thing.
You can get like the little silver Sharpies. You get the black gaff tape with the silver Sharpies. You can write whole labels on them. It's great. I was using it the other day. We had a shoot in a big amphitheater thing, and we had cameras that were set up like in the seats.
Mm-hmm.
So we had just a row of seats that were blocked off for the cameras because there's nowhere else to set them up. And we used a roll of red gaff tape, and we just stretched a length of red gaff tape from the back of one of the seats to the armrest of the next seat, and just used it to basically block off
a section.
A section. Yeah, and it worked great. Like when we put the signs that say reserved on the seats, no one pays attention. You put a length of red gaff tape over that thing, people pay attention.
Yeah, that'll keep him out of there.
That'll work. It's not going anywhere. Now that we have sung the praises of gaff tape,
yeah,
I want to.
Oh, we're moving past gaff tape. Wow.
Well, maybe.
Look at us.
Maybe we're moving past gaff tape. You could make this part about gaff tape if you want. I want to start a new thing where we can talk about just one little quick thing that we have learned in the past week, having to do with video or production or whatever. Because we're always
learning anything.
That is false.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
That is absolutely false.
I'm an active learner.
You literally texted me this morning of like, what did you say? I think you said, I learned a new trick, I think is what you said.
Yep, and that's exactly what I'm going to talk about. So don't say it.
Okay. So tell us, what has the dog Brian learned? Can he sit? Can he fetch? Can he play dead?
No, I just roll over now. All right. So what a lot of people might not know, which is okay. I don't think we've really talked about it, right? But we are in the process of filming a documentary about a local teacher that I had as a teacher growing up, and 100% of the people that grew up in the Jefferson area had him as a teacher because he was a teacher at the local elementary school.
He's a legend. Everyone that I've talked to, I mean, I only moved here. I moved here after college, so I never had any like schooling in the area.
Yeah.
But everyone that I talk to, when I tell them who we're working with on this, they're like, "Oh yeah, it's either I had him as a teacher, or I know someone who did, I know him personally,
I've heard the stories, or
it's like he's either taught me, he's taught my parents, or he's taught both,
and my children now,
and my children, yeah,
exactly." So we're shooting a documentary, right? It's about a really awesome dude. You know, that's a whole different side tangent and conversation we'll have.
You'll hear more about it as the shoots roll.
But this was the first real sit down. We weren't sitting, we were standing. But like interview, shoot, conversation piece that we kind of got from him, right? As I was shooting it, there was a couple things that were a little wonky, blah, blah, blah. I got some good audio. I just used my MKE 600 shotgun for the audio there. We were in a baseball stadium. They were literally warming up to play a game, so there was music and stuff. But the big thing that I kind of learned recently was during these interview style shoots and things, right? You can diffuse the light on the person, do that, blah, 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 even it out between the background, whatever. If you want to light it yourself, that's a whole thing. Like,
Which
there's
you had a diffuser.
I had the diffuser, and it looked incredible. It might have been the nicest thing lighting wise outdoors that I've ever done in my life.
Especially considering that you set this and shot this whole thing up by yourself, because I was off doing something else. So you had this thing just like clamped to a light stand off to the side.
Yep, with the rock bag on it and everything. It was there, right?
Yep.
So the one thing that didn't work well was the light move, whatever. That was the whole thing. But I was doing some research about like the post-production side of like lighting and interview, I guess you could call it. And I found a really interesting, it's actually one of my, I pay monthly for a mentor and in the video space. And it was actually his most recent video he posted talking about lighting an outdoor interview, right? Mm-hmm. So you could do all the pre-production, production of the actual thing and all that and lighting and stuff. But in post, you can achieve a certain look by masking the subject and masking the background and taking the background and just bringing down the brightness and the color and all that kind of stuff, like way down, like not just like a little bit, like super down, so it just looks like they are the only thing lit in the image, essentially, like to a point. So I learned that. I haven't touched it or done it, but with the stuff that I just shot the other day, I'm like, this is going to be the clip and the thing that I try this on and see how well I can make it work. So that was it was a pretty cool thing. And I might make a little video of me learning how to do it and stuff about it, so that there's more of an educational piece. But that was a cool thing that I learned. You know, we can do all this stuff pre and during the production and all that, and then there's a little more we can do in post to make it even better. So yeah,
getting that separation can be huge. I did a thing. I did a thing. I did kind of what you're talking about. There was some interview footage that they shot it. It was in like an office environment, and they shot it against like one of those big floor to ceiling windows. So they had just the outdoors behind them. So not that dissimilar from yours. Arguably maybe a little more intense, because they just had like indoor lighting for the subject. It was like studio. They lit it, but they were trying to compete with the background, which was full sun. And so everything behind them was like super blown out and all this. It was it was a lot. So I did that thing where you mask out the subject and I darken the background. Only so much you can do, especially in an extreme instance like that, but I was able to get some of the details back, and it made it so your eye was more drawn to and was more comfortable looking at the subject. So yeah, it can be a big thing. I would be really curious to try doing that in Resolve.
That's exactly what I'm gonna do, Cam. That's what I'm doing.
Because Resolve has that. What do they call it?
You blew my cover.
Sorry, but they have the magic mask, I think is what they call it.
Never heard of it. I know nothing about Resolve. Like, I know how to open the program and drag my clips in there, but then at that point, I'm like, what's going on?
I mean, I'm kind of in the same place. Like, I have not actually cut a project in Resolve, like ever. But I want to. And so I've been seeing, like, I follow a lot of people on YouTube and TikTok who do tutorials, and I'm kind of trying to start, like, slowly, like, just by osmosis and exposure therapy, I'm learning some stuff. And I know that they have a magic, because the one challenge with the technique you're talking about, it works pretty well for interviews because your mask, you're basically cutting out around the person.
Yeah.
But if the person moves, it's tricky to then animate the mask with them. You can do it, but like, especially if it's over the course of an entire interview, or even just like a longish clip, you got to customize it and keyframe it for each individual thing. Premiere has mask tracking, but it doesn't like change the shape of the mask. It's more for like, you know, it's like, oh, this thing doesn't actually change shape, it just moves. But a person's like, their arm moves and suddenly that arm is like, looks like it's in total shadow because it's outside of your mask. Resolve's magic mask, from what I can tell, basically like does some auto rotoscoping.
That's a big word. What is a rotoscope?
Basically, it comes from old school VFX, where rotoscope literally just meant you were like cutting out around the subject, and you were doing that on each frame.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you're basically like doing a manual mask around the person, but you're doing it on literally every frame, and it's like next. Takes for frickin' ever. After Effects has like an auto rotoscoping thing where it's kind of like the magic wand or the auto selection tool in Photoshop of like you paint around the subject you want,
and it does its job, like it does what it thinks it should be doing.
It does some analysis and like goes through. It's incredibly slow, and I very rarely have it work properly. They came out with like the version 3 of the algorithm, the AI thing that it's using, and it somehow made it worse. At least when I was trying to use it. Maybe I'm just not using it correctly. I don't know. But like,
that's awesome.
I have spent like, I literally for one shot, I was like, I want to get this to work, and this is the only way I can think of to get this to work. And I spent like an hour on like a 20-second clip trying to cut out this subject. And I was like, this looks like garbage. This looks like absolute trash. Supposedly Resolve's like auto magic mask thing is basically that, but it actually works. And you don't have to round trip it to After Effects. So I don't know. I'm curious to try that out myself, because I've seen some colorists use that and do literally what you're talking about, of like either darkening the background or boosting the brightness of the person in front to just get that separation.
You know, the one thing I don't get on TikTok is educational content creation, post-production, filmmaking content. Like, I just don't get that. I don't get it.
It hasn't figured that out for you.
I don't get it.
I will. So here's what I can do. I can start sending you some of the ones that I save, and you can watch them. You can like them,
and then I'll TikTok get into the algorithm.
Hopefully, that's so weird though. But usually TikTok is like, oh, I heard you. You know, I heard you were looking for a new pair of shoes. Here's a bunch of cobblers from London.
I literally heard you thinking about it. So
literally, yeah. It's like if we're gonna give you all of our data, at least like figure out that Brian's interested in post production. Jeez,
I know of anything, bro.
Yeah,
I told you what we talked about yesterday, like who's gonna get the new computer or something. I was like, well, who's gonna edit if you die in 70 years? So I might as well learn now. You know.
He's forward thinking, at least.
Yep.
You could also argue he's plotting my death, but
I said 70 years, dude. Come on.
You're in this for it's a long play.
Yeah, it's a long drawn out. Like I put a drop of something in your drink every time we're together, and it just takes effect. It takes about 70 years to actually
it's
work.
Like there's an old Key and Peele sketch of them like talking about like they're planning to rob a bank, and the guy's like, okay, so the plan is we go in there and we get jobs. We get jobs in the bank.
That's such a good one.
And then over the course of 30-40 years, we will have taken hundreds of thousands of dollars of their money. That's Key and Peele are goals, man. Their stuff is so good. Okay,
I've wanted to do that. Anyways, go ahead.
So
what were you saying?
So I'm gonna do my thing that I learned this week.
Oh yeah, we haven't even got there yet. Sorry.
Yeah, which, funnily enough, like usually you're like the DP and I'm the post guy. You talked about doing post stuff.
Editing stuff. Yep.
And my thing is going to be about shoots. And
it was snap!
It was something that I figured out. Well, I'm not even going to say I learned. It was something that we did when we did the real estate shoot, and I was really.
Yep.
It really opened my mind to how this could work, and part of this is because it has to do with having two people on a shoot.
Yep.
Or multiple people on a shoot, which is not something that I have done a lot of, especially like if I'm running the shoot. Usually, it's been just me solo. So
I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you here too. So when we were doing the real estate shoot, when we did the interiors, that was all you and your gimbal.
Yep.
Right. But what we ended up doing, so I was like, hovering around, and I was like there to do support stuff. I was like turning lights on and off and running faucets and, doing stuff. I would like hide behind doors and open them. But for the most part, I was just trying to like stay out of your way. Eventually, what we started doing, and we only did this at the very end, but it worked really well, I think, was you handed me your phone with the Blackmagic Bluetooth control, and I was suddenly able to control your settings and even your start and stop.
Yeah. Yep.
Which worked really well because your gimbal right now, you don't have any form of like hand controls on it.
Yeah, I've got a dumb tilt-a-ring. So there's no smart attachments, nothing in the power rails, no nothing. It's just ring and gimbal.
Yeah. So even just something as simple as like starting and stopping the camera, you got to take one hand off, which on a gimbal, very difficult to do.
I was balancing on one leg very often to hit my start-stop button.
So eventually, I don't remember which one of us had this idea. I think it might have been you.
I think I literally think I just handed you my phone. I was like, here you go. Because I was changing. I was like on there changing the color. And you were like, when we go into this room, blah, 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 like we'll change the color again. I was like, okay. And I literally just handed it to you.
And then I think you said, like, can you actually start recording for me too?
Well, and
I think that was you.
I didn't, I think as I was handing you my phone, the record, there's a little red circle in the bottom left. And I was like, is it, can I control the recording and blah, blah, blah? And you pressed it. Sure enough, it turned off. I was like, okay, yeah, you're gonna take over from here.
Yeah. So suddenly, I was able to basically now this was a very basic version of being like I don't know, what would it be?
AC
assistant?
Maybe?
Deep.
Are you an AC?
Yeah,
at that point?
AC assistant.
Yeah.
I think that might be it. I did not have a monitor to see what you were doing, or anything like that.
You were close enough to see what was happening.
Sometimes, but sometimes what I would do is I would just hide in another room because I wanted to make, you were spinning all over the place and going through doorways and things, and I didn't want to be in the shot. So I would just hide in another room or down the stairs or whatever. And you would call out, because we're not using any of the audio, we're just going from room to room. And you would call out okay, it needs to be a little darker, because I could control your iris.
Yep.
And each room, because every room had different color temperatures, because of different light bulbs and different windows and how much natural light was in there, we were having to ride the exposure and the color temperature just constantly.
Yep.
And that's not something that you could do with both hands.
Not easily. The yeah, not easily.
So for the last few rooms, I was able to just you would call out okay, it needs to be brighter, it needs to be darker, going from this room to that room, and I would just adjust it live, because you can even adjust it while you're still rolling.
Yeah, which is huge.
And
huge.
So I really felt that we only figured it out in the last 20 minutes of that shoot.
Figures, right?
But now that's been in my head ever since of okay, good to know.
I've also thought about what wireless video control system could we get that can make this exactly what we're thinking of. How can we make this something where, one, we can use it on some of the documentary stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So if we're following this guy around town or whatever, and I'm running the gimbal or I'm running a shoulder rig or something, and I need to change my white balance because we just went from inside to outside, or change my iris. I'm not up there just pressing the buttons on the screen.
Yep.
You could be able to control it from the side or something. That would be pretty next level. That is literally like that puts us as a production company together up one. Like, and there's some relatively inexpensive units out there.
Oh yeah,
like $600 or $700 for a transmitter receiver, right?
It's not bad. Yeah, I hold on. I did a shoot where they were using a Hollyland.
Yeah, Hollyland is a big one. You can get a transmitter receiver for like $500 or $600. You probably get a used one for like $400.
Yeah, they've got an older one that's like 430. They actually have one that is a receiver and a monitor built in, all in one for like $500.
Yeah, which would be awesome.
So like you do that, and then you mount like your phone. Or I actually was even looking at that Blackmagic.
Does Blackmagic have one?
A wireless system?
Yeah.
Not that I know of. Okay. I think they're only doing wired routing right now. But I could see that being in the cards for them for sure.
You know what we could do? I have the transmitter hooked to the like a Hollyland, right?
Yep.
Have the transmitter and I mount it to the back of my Ninja. My Ninja has an HDMI out. I do a like 6-inch out into the transmitter.
Mm-hmm.
You have a receiver with your iPad that has maybe, hold on, let me backtrack a little bit, because you would have to switch between the viewing and the color.
Not necessarily. It's because it depends on, so I need to test because
you could get a phone mount.
Well, I was thinking of using the iPad even after we did that shoot. I was like, the iPad would be nice because the iPad, they make an iPad version of this app. And actually, there is an official, because this app is a third party, which blows my mind.
Blackmagic app.
The Blackmagic one that we're using right now is a third party one.
Didn't know that. I had no idea.
It looks like...
It literally has Blackmagic... is it the Blackmagic logo?
No, it's not. It's, what is it? Hold on, I've got it up right now.
Oh, the Blackmagic camera is the black... No.
It's called Bluetooth Plus.
Yeah, that is actually literally what it's called.
Yeah, so it's not called, let me see, Bluetooth Plus. So if you look it up, yeah, it's by a company called We Are Empire Pty Limited.
Oh, so Blackmagic's parent company. Okay, yeah.
Is that their parent company?
No, I was just joking.
Okay, I was gonna say because no, like, what is it? It's literally the only app they make. Now Blackmagic does make an official camera control app. However, it only runs on iPad. It doesn't have a phone version.
Oh, do we get a live view?
I don't think so.
Trash.
Absolute I know. Trash. So like it's not any different, but that's two options for iPad control.
Yeah. If the only thing I worry about is switching back and forth because you'd have to be live view.
So that's the thing. If the two apps, because it would be the Blackmagic camera app, whichever one, and then it would be the Orion app, which lets you view HDMI through a USB-C converter. If those both support the iPad split screen or like picture-in-picture, suddenly you're in business.
You could have a picture-in-picture
or a side-by-side. That's something that I can test right now and see how that works. So I think I may have to look into that because then if you can just have, if you can just have
literally could Velcro stick the Hollyland to the back of the iPad.
Yeah, 100% would totally work. We might be onto something here.
Are the Hollylands battery powered?
Yes, I believe
very
so.
Nice.
So yeah, that might be something to look at. So next week we might be talking about some of our mad scientist experiments in the lab, figuring this stuff out.
Dang, it's really only $450.
Yeah, the Hollyland stuff is not expensive. And from what I've seen, it works really well. Granted, I saw it used in like a very controlled studio environment, but I've heard really good things. I think they just came out with some new models at NAB too. So the older ones might be even cheaper. We will see.
For the production company, when we do TVs, they're never right next to each other, right? You have an 86-inch TV. You're not going to put them next to each other. You're going to put them across the room or different spots. And there's some places that we have 5 or 6 TVs.
Yeah.
So There was one point where we just bought some cheap Chinese Amazon transmitter receivers. They could do both, transmit or receive. I think we bought 4 or 5 of them total, and one would be the transmitter for receivers. They work really well.
Yeah.
Like so well that it's been a thought in my mind for us to buy that. The only problem is they only support like 1080.
I mean, I think that's fine. Honestly, I trust that more.
Well, sometimes on like capture cards or devices that transmit a signal, if it's a signal that's higher than 1080, it won't transmit. Like the bandwidth from one thing to the next won't. So if we're shooting 6K, it might not transmit through the thing.
Can you not scale down the output from a Blackmagic camera?
I have no idea. I just know on our Roland video switcher that we have,
yeah,
I have to go ProRes 1080, and it has to be 30 FPS for it to work on the Roland video switcher.
And I think that's partially why, like, I get that, because pushing a 4K signal, A, for monitoring, totally unnecessary.
Yeah.
And I would trust it more to do 1080 because that's so much less bandwidth it's trying to squeeze over the air. So, like, I totally get that. But there's one here, I don't know if this is the brand you're talking about, but
is it black and orange?
Yep.
Yeah, that's
and they actually have a kit that comes with 2 of them and a very janky looking bracket on the back that lets it take a battery pack. But it looks
on Amazon.
Yeah, but it looks like
what's it called?
It's called wireless HDMI transmitter and receiver. It's from a company called Verris, Vrriis. But it looks like it literally is just has like an adapter that converts like a battery plate into USB-C. So there's no reason that you couldn't just power it through USB-C.
No, that's how it's powered, is USB-C.
Yeah, so like you wouldn't even necessarily need the battery plates.
Oh my god, are you seeing this camera setup that they put as an example of one of their pictures?
Well, wait, are you talking about the Canon HDV camera? Or are you talking about...
on a tripod? On a Manfrotto tripod?
Or are you talking about the one that's like a little DSLR where the whole wireless rig is bigger than the camera?
That is not a DSLR.
That's like a point-and-shoot mirrorless.
That's like a handy cam.
Yeah.
Why is it mounted vertically?
I don't know. Also, if you look at how it's categorized on Amazon, it's under the category of MP3 player accessories, Bluetooth, and FM transmitters.
Close.
I don't know what other categories they have as an option, but I feel like they gotta have something closer.
This is the one. These are the ones that we have. This is the ones that we have. Orange and black.
Confirmed that they work. I mean, I'm sure this is just some
they work great.
So I'm sure this is just like some kind of Chinese clone that is sold by a million different companies under different names, and it's all the same stuff. So
it works awesome.
Yeah, but if we could figure out a way to like get that all like glued together into a thing that can be like powered off of like a little baby V mount, so you've got like an iPad and this thing and a V mount stuck to the back of the case.
And that's not that hard.
No, very easy to do. I have an iPad adapter that's made by Small Rig that we could put stuff on.
That might be our project this week.
It might be. That would be very fun. Okay, next week, guys, we will give you an update on this monstrosity that we are building.
I think we're building it.
Yeah.
Are you buying it or am I buying it?
We will see. We got to get the finances worked out so that it's a we are buying it thing. Hopefully this next week. We are at the point now where we should have paperwork this week.
Oh, that is true. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That should be coming up.
Yeah. So fingers crossed that'll be happening soon. But thank you guys so much.
Delivery would be Thursday the 6th. Anyways.
Even with Prime?
If I bought it today.
Well, I guess that makes sense because it needs a couple business days.
Amazon comes that same day. There's no other option.
If it's not Prime, I'm not buying it.
I did go through a phase of if I don't get it today.
Oh, we all went through that phase, Brian. It. But honestly, like B&H continues to satisfy that for me because they just ship so quickly.
Yeah, they do a good job.
All right.
Anyways.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening, watching. however you are enjoying this podcast. This has been a Purple Donuts production, and we...
Speak faster, speak faster.
The music's playing. We'll see you next time.